but
Yeah,
I can do about 10 minutes here with you guys.
awesome. So you don't mind if I just bombard you with the questions?
No, let's go. Let's do it.
Okay, so let's start with the migration to Gotchi chain. Um, what would dApps need to change to get ready for Gotchi chain?
Honestly, not that much. Really, it's EVM compatible, and if they already have stuff that's deployed on Polygon and they wanted to migrate it over, they would need to prepare some like migration scripts depending on how they want to do that. If they are just a new, like they've never deployed anything and they're just completely new, it'll be just like deploying on EVM on like Polygon or Ethereum. So nothing really like that they need to prepare special for Gotchi chain.
So no need to refactor any of the code, just about the deployment.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as I know, it should be one to one, just the same as deploying on Mumbai or Polygon.
Awesome. Then the next question would be, what happens to working with the subgraph? Like, would the subgraph include both Polygon and Gotchi chain, or would there be a new subgraph, or would we have to split it and do the old stuff with the old? You get what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. There will be a new subgraph. The current, well, I'm gonna guess most likely we will have a new subgraph just for Gotchi chain, and the core matic will be continued to be used for Polygon, and then we'll have a new core Gotchi chain for Gotchi chain.
But would the new subgraph be aware of the data from the previous days?
No, it'll be deployed from the Genesis block on Gotchi chain, so it won't have the data from Polygon.
Interesting. So if we query the new subgraph about, for example, kinship, then it would give a lower number?
No, no. What will probably happen is if you're querying a Gotchi that is migrated over to Gotchi chain from Polygon, we are going to emit that data, that metadata of the Gotchi as an event on Gotchi chain when it gets bridged over. So,
okay.
so it'll have the latest information. And if you bridge it from Gotchi chain back to Polygon, it will also update the metadata of the Gotchi on chain.
Got you.
And
Awesome.
we will also emit an event for that.
Okay, I'm just gonna run through the remaining questions here. They are about the SDK. Just let me know when you have to go.
Okay.
So about the SDK, will there be an alpha that the community devs can get to see and test?
Yeah, there definitely will be. Yeah.
Any ETA on that?
Not really. Gotchi chain is taking up a lot of the development time we have, and also the migration to 3D. But Slama is working on a 3D SDK that developers will be able to use. That's going to have all of the 3D assets and all the ways that you like the functions you'll need to get the 3D assets.
Speaking about 3D assets, we have about 2 more months left if in the Thrive ecosystem in this partnership and with the Voltron Hackathon. And I was wondering if at the end, like we wanted to present some projects that we made, including 3D graphics, would by then the 3D stuff be available, or could we get like a sneak peek to Gotchify the 3D environments we used as placeholders?
Yeah, I think within 2 months, we should have the basic collaterals done. You guys might have seen the preview that we dropped in the last dev update. So those are fairly close to being, those are still, I think, concept art. They haven't been modeled out into 3D yet. But I think within the next 2 months, we should have the basic Gotchi model that you guys saw the emotions, like the different faces that the gotchis have. So we're working on rigging those, but we won't have all of the wearables yet. Those are going to take longer. Although we do have team members starting to work on those, but those are going to take longer. So I can't guarantee within 2 months exactly what we'll have, but we should have like at least a basic gotchi that you can emote and kind of run around with, and that will kind of feel like a 3D gotchi. But we won't have all of the wearables yet.
Awesome. That's all the question I had on my list. One of the other guys here want to jump in with some questions?
I think you asked if I had to.
Cool. What are you guys planning with the Voltron Hackathon? I know I've heard about it from Thrax, and I know it's basically just the goal is to get kind of a standardized development, kind of like a development kind of ecosystem going where we're all using the same tech. But is there actually going to be like a hackathon?
Yeah, I think we have 2 or 3 projects already in our collab sheet, and
nice.
I think there will be some projects that come out of this.
Cool. Any alpha on that?
Well, I can only speak to my project. I'm looking to make a minimum viable product where that can be used as a basis for a tutorial. Basically, what Coyote did for JavaScript and Face. I'm looking to do something similar for Unity, working with multiplayers and working with blockchain and Unity and so on.
That's cool. We also, our team is also working on that. I think they're using Ethereum. So definitely, if you haven't already, you can reach out to, probably reach out to Andy, the new game director, and I can also make him aware that you guys are working on something like that, so we don't duplicate work.
Awesome, will do.
Cool. All right, guys. Yeah, sorry that I can't attend the full meeting, but yeah, feel free to ping me in DMs, and I can try and answer anything else.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for organizing all this. Look forward to seeing more.
All right. Have a great time.
Okay. Have a great Sunday, guys. Bye-bye.
All right. So should we go ahead and start? Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you, buddy.
All right. So I think I'll just start with a short recap of our meeting we just had with Dan. We had a little AMA session before he had to leave, and then we get into the rest, unless one of the tab guys has something else in mind. Okay, getting the thumbs up from Shepard. Awesome. Okay, so we asked him first about Gotchi chain, and in particular what dApps would need to change to get ready for Gotchi chain. And he said there's not much that has to be changed. It's EVM compatible. If the project is already deployed on Polygon and they want to migrate it over, they'd need to prepare some migration scripts. But if it's just a new project, it will be like deploying on Polygon or Ethereum. No need to refactor code.
Now recording.
Interesting. I just got this great message.
Oh, that was me. Sorry. Hopefully that's okay. That way we can give people credit for participating in the meeting.
Sure. I just never heard him speak before.
Yeah, no worries.
So then the next question was about what will happen to the subgraph. There will likely be a new core subgraph just for Gotchi chain, and the core Matic one will continue to be used for Polygon. And when migrating a Gotchi over to Gotchi chain, the metadata will be emitted as an event, and so the Gotchi chain subgraph will be aware of all the data that's on the Gotchi regarding XP, kinship, and so on. And the same will happen when you bridge it back. Then the metadata that changed while it was on Gotchi chain will get emitted. And so the core Matic one will have the new data. The next question was, will there be an alpha SDK for the community devs to test? And he said, yes, definitely, but there is no ETA on that yet. Gotchi chain is taking up a lot of time. Slama is working on a 3D SDK that has all the 3D assets. Then staying on the topic of 3D, will 3D assets be available for the Voltron Hackathon 3D projects by the end of the hackathon? So as far as I know, we have a little less than 2 months left. And for all the projects that want to work with 3D, it would be awesome if we could have those, right? So he said the basic collaterals should be done by then, including rigging, but they won't have all the variables by then. So no guarantee, of course, but yeah, we should have the basic Gotchi with emotes in 3D by the end of the hackathon. So we could probably just start with some placeholders and then at the end substitute those in. Then the last thing we talked about before he had to go was for the people working in Unity, we are welcome to reach out to Andy, the new game director, to sync up about the tech we are using and developing so that we don't work on the same stuff in parallel, because that would just be a waste. One of the libraries that they are using for the SDK, he said, is Ethereum, which is a C# library for connecting to EVM. So it makes sense that other projects that work with C# code use the same library. Coincidentally, that's also what I'm using personally, so I was glad to hear that. And yeah, that was basically it for the little AMA we got before the meeting.
Is there a written up version of that you would be able to share as well?
Yes. Should I post it in chat or just accumulate everything at the end and then post it in notes?
Maybe both. Maybe you could drop it in chat now and then also include it in notes at the end.
Sure. Let's see.
Hi, Cryptogotchi. I read the documentation on Polygon SuperNet, and there is a chapter about what they call ACL, Access Control List. It seems that basically on the SuperNet, it's not everyone can from scratch deploy a contract. Not every address. There is kind of an admin role address that I think will belong to Pixelcraft or to the DAO, and the address you use to deploy a contract, she has to be granted a specific role on this access control list in order to be able to deploy. So did CoderDan speak more precisely about that part, or maybe it was not yet part of the conversation?
No, he didn't mention that part.
I think he mentioned it a while ago about how they were only going to give access to a certain amount of people at the very beginning.
Okay, we'll see. Thanks.
CoderDan did question to see what type of projects that we were working on. So just out of curiosity, do we have a list or a place where we have the all the projects that we're working on?
Yes, it's in the collab cheat. I can put a link in the chat. Give me a second.
Sweet. And then I guess we should just pin it up there so that way anyone that comes into the chat can immediately just go and find it there.
Coincidentally, projects would also be the next topic on the agenda. So unless you guys want to talk some more about Gotchi Chain or the SDK, or like prepare some follow-up questions, we could move on to that.
I say we move on because there's not really that much information on the Gotchi Chain yet.
All right, so we could start going through the list who already filled out something about their projects. I think the first one is user default. If you want to say a little bit about your project, that would be awesome.
Yeah, 1 second. Let me just go to the other room so it's not loud. So essentially what I am working on is kind of a spin-off of a Monopoly concept game, but with an Aavegotchi type of twist. Essentially, it's going to be a diceless version where both Aavegotchis basically get to run around the board. And the way you get to buy or to get the properties is you have to stand on the tile for a certain amount of time. Once you do, then you get to claim to either buy or pass on it. But that's kind of the project that I'm currently working on right now.
Okay, sorry, multitasking is not my strong suit. I have a lot more respect for Hefe now. Then is Yannick here and maybe wants to talk about his project Murky Forest. I don't see him here in the voice chat.
I can talk about what I'm slowly but surely working on.
Awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, my experience is more in hardware over software. So I'm actually going to work on a little like Tamagotchi Game Boy type companion. I've just been bogged down with supply issues, trying to get a Raspberry Pi 02W to put in. I have all the software written up. I might need a front end dev to build like a container app. So you just like, you know, load up your wallet and it only will connect to the Gotchiverse via just like a little app icon, almost like if you turned an app, a web page into an app on your phone, and then yeah, you'll be able to carry that in your pocket and go around, pet your Gotchis, and play Gotchiverse on the go.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I think a lot of people were waiting for that for a long time.
Yeah, I've seen people mention it. People kicked around the idea, but I went and got the case thingy that I need. I started working on the software itself, which is pretty easy. But yeah, I just haven't gotten the 02W in yet. They've been out of stock in the US forever. I could get them internationally, but it would take weeks and the shipping would cost just as much as the board itself.
Yeah, definitely keep us updated on that. So, Umami, do you want to go next with your project? Okay, maybe I put him on the spot. Oliver, if you want to talk about your project, then go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I don't have too much to share at the moment. Working with Jared and Slick, we're putting together an MVP of the dungeon crawler, like the concept that I was building several months ago. And we're actually bringing it together, and it's looking really good. At the moment, I'm just making lots of artwork and the assets, and Jared and Slick are doing the developmental side. And we're hoping to have something playable here soon. So just bashing away.
Awesome.
You might have seen like they did a little teaser of the animation on Twitter. Yeah, we're really wanting to stick to like the pixel art aesthetic and do like that classic game style. And that's yeah, one of our missions in this game.
Oh, can you put that tweet in the chat?
Yeah, just a sec. It's like a little attack sequence for the hammer. So the overall idea is to make it like an action dungeon crawler, sort of a hybrid between like Stardew Valley, the Skull Cavern, which is like an infinite cavern where you get different resources, like a mix between that and Hades, which is like, I'm sure you're familiar with, like the RNG action intense dungeon crawler. So that's like the vision. And we want to make it 2 or 3 players. So there'll be team play elements involved with switches and things that you have to rely on your teammates to open doors and what have you.
Sounds very cool. And yeah, I've seen that that animation on Twitter as well.
Yeah, thanks. We're pretty pumped. We had a good thing going so far, and we're really excited to keep going.
So next up, PG and FIFO, do you want to talk about your project? Are they here?
Yes, but PG will talk about it, I guess. Better than me.
Am I crazy, or in this moment right now, is it someone talking, or is it silent?
This second, you're the only one talking.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, cool. Problem solved.
Okay, PG is having some audio issues, it seems.
Okay, I will explain very quickly. PG started to develop a smart contract to handle OTC transaction for... yeah?
Hello?
Yeah. Hello,
I think
PG.
I'm good now.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you can go ahead.
No, please do so.
So yeah, we're working on we have some prototype already. We worked on already on it's on Mumbai, and it needs a UI and more feature, but it's a OTC trading tool. Right now it's custodial. The first version was custodial, and maybe we could use the same technique as Web3 Bazaar and make it non-custodial, which would be a good improvement. But yeah, that's the idea. So my skills are more at smart contract level, and with FIFO's help, I think we can. And also, there are some graphics that were done by Sim as well, which is there.
Yeah, getting resources from the community, awesome.
No, what are you doing, Jackson? Get off the stuffy now. Get off the stuffy. Well, why are you beating up the stuffy, Jackson?
Kid's a fighter.
That's so cute.
Yes. Family Sunday. Yeah, so unless FIFO has anything to add, that's about it for the project. It's just an idea, but we feel...
Yeah, basically right now, if you want to do OTC, you have to find a third person to trust to make the exchange overall. And the idea is just to have something that is more of a trustless contract that will handle the transaction. So We haven't spoken about all the details yet, but the idea is that PG will work on the smart contract, I will work on the UI to bring the project to Gotchi chain or to the actual Polygon network. We'll see.
Awesome. That sounds very useful.
The idea came from, there have been plenty of hack involving off-scam, involving OTC a little while back. So that's where it started. But I think the main goal for Voltron Hackathon would be to maybe complete it, but also integrate it better with the framework and the SDK and everything we're discussing here. So it would be like a good use case to use as an example of what we're trying to do here as well.
Yeah, cool. So next up, Inunmai, do you want to talk a little bit about your Aavegotchi kit?
Sure. I was just building this to use in another game I was working on, and the other game sort of fell on the wayside, so I just continued working on this. But now it feels like, I don't know, it's kind of like I'm wasting time, because there's going to be a SDK for Pixelcraft. So I don't know what you guys think about it.
When is that SDK coming? What have they said about that?
They don't have an ETA on it yet. And there are going to be two SDKs, one for Unity development or 3D in general, and one for JavaScript, as far as I understood it.
So the one I'm working on might bridge the gap a little bit if you still want to use the SVG assets. I don't know if anyone's interested in using it.
I pointed a Unity dev buddy of mine towards it. I think he reached out to you this week. I mean, in the moment, I do find it incredibly valuable that like it's there, something is there. So, but I understand your concern of spinning your wheels on it to have it replaced by something coming from Pixelcraft.
I mean, for me, it's okay because I'm sort of like learning as I go along as well. So it's good for that.
Yeah, and Dan did mention that we are welcome to reach out to Andy about overlap in work. So yeah, maybe there is something or somehow we can sync up so that our stuff doesn't just get replaced, or so that they might be using some of it or making it different or better or something.
Yeah, I'll reach out to them and see if they're interested in collaborating.
Awesome. So if I'm not mistaken, I'm the last one on the list. If I skipped anyone, please let me know. So the project that I'm working on is meant to be just a small example of how to work with Unity, especially with ECS, multiplayer, VR, although that will not be a requirement, and making a little tutorial series about it. In particular, it's basically going to be a little table tennis game where so you have a 2-player multiplayer and you're just hitting the ball back and forth with a gotchi at either end, and the theme is gonna be a little abstract, so it will be inside a portal stream, so there will be lots of alchemica floating around, and I think it's a small idea, but it's easy to build on it and show small examples based on that. That's what I'm looking to do for the hackathon. yeah, if there's anyone else who has a project they want to talk about, feel free to jump in.
I just added another one. It's not really for the hackathon because I started it a while ago. I'm working on a Discord bot that is his primary goal is to manage a whitelist for scholars or players, so call it the way you want, and to based on all the parcels that belongs to that are accessible to the gotchis inside the whitelist, to notify the player that has borrowed the gotchi, to notify him with the next actions to do in order to optimize the overall use of resources inside the whitelist. Channel the higher level altars with the higher kinship gotchi, and also beyond point regarding all the harvesting stuff. And players receive notifications when they have something to do.
Awesome.
It's right now a working project. Basically, Yannick should be the first to test it because he has a very large amount of gotchis and parcels. So he's interested in the thing because he has many scholars just to manage, just to handle all the stuff he has going on. So he's interested by it because of the large amount of assets that he manages. And I think he has like 5 or 6 scholars just working with him. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Yannick's a busy man.
Yes, he is.
So if there are no other projects to present, then we could move on to our fourth and final part of the agenda, which is how do we measure development or developer output? So what are contributions worth? What adjustments can we make to the Thrive rewards? And there have been 2 ideas floating around last time. One is a dev card system, which would be similar to the fake gotchi cards, where individuals could buy into the tokens that get generated when the cards are burned. And the other is an MVP system where we use smaller funds to incentivize MVP development, and then when there is an MVP that is both desirable or desired by the DAO and the developer wants to keep working on it, then they could proceed, as has been the case in the past, by making a funding signal proposal. But for now, maybe we keep it on the topic of Thrive rewards. And yeah, it would be awesome if we could hear a little bit more from our Thrive team here, how much leeway we have with that.
So basically at the high level, what the Aavegotchi DAO has approved is a total monthly spend of rewards of 15,000 ghost. So, the elected board are kind of the final determiners of what falls into what category, but there should be total flexibility as long as no more than 15,000 ghost is spent in total for rewards for the month. And then also just want you all to know that we also have GitHub integration. So in terms of validations, if there are kind of non-gameable signals of work through GitHub activity, then we can use those as well for reward types and work signals.
Great to know, but obviously we can't just hog all of the rewards. There is still a lot of other work that should be rewarded, or not necessarily work, but also just like participation and so on. So what do you guys think? What would you want to see rewarded?
So just for clarification, that 15,000 budget, is that also including like people participating in like the DAOs and voting, or is it that just specifically set aside for the gaming?
Yep, it's for all activities.
Got it.
Yeah, there's been a strong signal that kind of what is believed to be one of the most high value things that can happen right now in the DAO is encouraging this community that's on this call right now and trying to sort of unify work around a shared goal and at least like a shared place of interoperability. So I think that I'm guessing that there would be appetite for a disproportionate amount going to the developer community, but that total amount still needs to also support sort of all the other DAO activity rewards.
That's fair, and that makes sense. Okay. So what we're trying to figure out right now is like how we plan to incentivize, I guess, the people on this call to get their MVP up and running.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so should we just start throwing numbers in the room? I think, or should there be different categories for MVPs? Because you can make an MVP that is quite complex, and you can make something really small. So should we have like weight classes? And if so, how do we define them? Or should we just say, hey, every submitted MVP should get between 500 and 1,000 ghost or something?
I think we can mix a bit. I think, I mean, we can put a fraction of the budget as equally shared for all projects. But for the other side, I totally agree that some projects are more complex than others. For example, what I want to build with PG is not it's not a big size project, I guess, and we are aiming for maybe a bit more than an MVP because we'd like the thing to be completed anyway. And if you want to develop a game, to me, I'm not a game developer at all, but it sounds way more complex. So I understand the concept of MVP makes sense for that. But in my mind, I don't know, but in my mind, to make a game, a Unity game, the effort in terms of time is bigger than to make a simple, well, not a simple, but a DApp tool, those kind of things. So it should be weighted in a way, but there should be a minimum for every project that maybe not that is participating, but that is delivering an MVP, a workable MVP, I guess.
I really
that
like
makes
that
sense.
idea.
You're right. Yeah, some games will, some projects will take a lot longer or more manpower to do. But I'm also agree with the whole fact that maybe, how about what if every MVP that does get put out does get like a base, like a kind of like a minimum wage type of system where you get like the base pay for, or base amount of rewards for putting out the MVP. And then maybe within this community, we are the ones that decide which MVP is a completed project, at least a workable enough project for you to qualify as an MVP. And that way, at least we can get people to want to build MVPs as soon as possible. And then the ones that are building bigger projects, then at that point, maybe we leave it up to a vote to see who wants to give, which project deserves more because of the amount of, I guess, work that has to go into it.
And that,
I agree with that also. But if you really want to build a big project, maybe the hackathon is just a start to make your MVP. And if the project really gets some traction and really seems interested, why the people that are making the project what stops them to go to the DAO and create a sick prop to see if there is a real interest from the community and then ask for real funding? Because if you're really making something that takes a lot of time, maybe it makes sense also.
Maybe in our projects we should also tell the community what like a ballpark budget would that you're looking for. So like you said, let's do the basic MVPs, and then like you said, nothing stops the the devs from asking the community. And if the developing community supports your idea, then that kind of gives you an even better idea, more support to getting your game passed in the proposal.
Yeah, so there would be 3 stages basically. A minimum wage stage where everyone who submits a working MVP gets the rewards. Then there are those who did so exceptionally well that we would vote for them to get a higher reward within the Thrive ecosystem. And then the next stage, which is up to the developers anyway, is whether or not they want to apply for some heavy funding from the DAO.
Sounds perfect to me. Sounds very good.
All right. So what would be the minimum wage one in terms of the amount? What do you guys feel would be a fair value?
Maybe 100 ghosts just for submitting an MVP probably be more than enough. Like it's just MVPs really.
I was thinking the same thing around 100.
How long and how much time does an MVP generally take in terms of hours, raw hours?
That's hard to really do math.
Yeah.
Does 100 ghosts seem like an adequate amount? Because
of course, not at all.
Roughly, it's not at all. Like not even close. And there's no incentive for developers to put together a 25-hour MVP or more for 100 ghosts. Like that, nobody's doing it for the ghost in that thing. That's
exactly, but we don't have the budget to incentivize people to do it for the ghost. So it would merely be a thank you, because if we were to give an adequate reward, then we would run out of money immediately.
And yeah, I get it, bro. Yeah, it wouldn't. Yeah, 100 ghosts is like I just said, just an arbitrary number just to see what the sentiment is. We can go up a more if you'd like, because I agree, an MVP can take quite a bit of long time. Like me getting into this, I'm realizing like this is taking me like weeks of hours of work. So I was like, okay, well, we definitely want to get paid for it, but I also want to try to incentivize as many people to try to participate as possible. So right now at this stage, like, yeah, I know the ghost is clearly like not worth it, but if it helps spur up more developers to come in and try to participate, well, then like I'll take the L right now just for that.
The thing is, if we go to 500 ghosts directly or something like that, I fear that would lead to many people just submitting some tutorial they followed on YouTube just to get a submission in, and that's what I would like to avoid.
Agree. I agreed with that too. Like the amount shouldn't be enough to really incentivize anyone to say, "Oh, let me just go kick out a bunch of crap projects." Like, no, it should be more of like, it's not enough money for you to go and do it, but for those that are really interested in trying to grow out this part of the community, then like it's not really about the ghosts at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if I may interject, I don't know if there should be just some automatic payment given to people for just creating content. Maybe there's a better ground that the minimum wage is a bit higher, but we're not set up in a way that you just automatically get it if you submit some kind of tutorial.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, like again, maybe within this little group, we are the ones that vote on which MVPs deserve to get the rewards. Maybe.
Yeah, I agree. We need the structure for voting. If everyone knows there's going to be a vote or a check, I would say, after submission to see that the project is valid and has some interest and it's just not a copy-paste of something. maybe it will automatically prevent people from submitting some useless content, I would say, not to be rude.
Sure, it's like the fake gotchi. We have the filter that you can't just submit whatever you want. And I think it's a bit more enticing if there's a higher reward up front and you can advertise that, and then people are like, wow, I can make this just to submit an MVP. I'm being funded and supported. People will be more enticed to join in. Just my thought on the matter.
So just to give an analog from another community, so the ApeCoin community did a governance contest where they wanted to sort of spur more governance proposals. And so they said, okay, submit your proposal idea for a new governance proposal. There was a couple judges who then reviewed them on a rubric that was set up. And then the top X in the rubric got rewarded for their submissions. And then later, there is sort of a follow-on, much larger prize if later the proposal idea that you submitted was actually sort of went through the full governance process and was like fully approved. So I wonder if an analog here might work in terms of, there's a couple people that are judging against a rubric. The values are higher. The top X on that rubric receive rewards. And then if you take it past the MVP stage to get sort of formal funding from the DAO, then there's like a much larger reward as well.
I think I prefer Oliver's idea, just to have a smaller, even though it's not so small, but a smaller reward and a larger reward. If I understood you correctly, you would just go back to like the two-stage system where we have one reward by ThriveCoin and then another if they want to do a SIG prop, or did I get that wrong?
So I was saying that there'd be one reward by ThriveCoin with some judges, and then there would be a second reward maybe in a future season by ThriveCoin if you successfully pass a SIG prop from something that you submitted your MVP from in this part of the process. So it's basically not just submit an MVP, but there's also incentive to carry through that MVP to sort of a more fully fleshed out project.
So what would happen if we all agree, hey, there's this one project that did brilliantly and should get a higher reward compared to what else was submitted, just as a hypothetical, but they either don't plan on doing a SIG prop or their SIG prop would not pass?
So this is all flexible. I'm just throwing out brainstorm ideas. So, if there's the funding and if it's approved, then there's nothing preventing, a special prize winner or however it wants to be categorized. And also just reinforcing all the final decision making on this is up to the board. So that these are all just brainstorms and recommendations.
And I'm just looking at what Chair wrote. So would the proposal be the gatekeeping stage in this case?
Probably, and I probably with the proposal would be, for example, all of this obviously is for example, to this group. Let's say within this group or a group like this, the devs, the people that are in the hackathon or whatever it is going forward, follow that process as most projects are like typical processes. That way, it might address, I don't know if this is the solution, but it might address the people throwing anything against the wall to try to hit the 100 ghost or 500 ghost, that we'd be aware of what's coming through, that there could be discussion on things, and it would avoid the, hey, I built this, it took me 2 months, I shipped it, where's my Hyundai Ghost? It's like, it would have a clear process for people to go through that shouldn't be anything too much more than what you would already be doing if you were working on something. And if we can implement something, like it does, something loose like that, where small write up, a one sheet, proposed, discussed. Okay, it's like run with it. No, we need more details here. No, that already exists. Run with it. And then as people deliver, those MVPs, and there can be the MVP specs in that one sheet that defines like this is the MVP that will be built. Something like that might help. Certainly, that's sort of what's hitting me in the moment for ideas for this.
I think I misunderstood before. So the proposal would be to the Voltron Hackathon community and not to the DAO. It would not be a Signal proposal.
Correct. This would be for the lower level.
Right. I like that.
Not the 100K ghosts type, or those type of things, but for the lower level ones we were discussing earlier.
So more like an entry level type.
Right.
Okay.
This way, it's still going to be low. Like when we're talking about MVPs, the fact of, there's probably no ghost amount, or certainly like within the budget to just reward people adequately. Okay, you did 45 hours. Here's your hourly rate. It can't happen. But people are still motivated, and they will be incentivized to ship something. If there's a structure like this, then, it would be a lot stronger. Let's say if it went through a process like this and then got to a SIG prop or a core prop, there would be a lot more stuff to stand on. That means it went through like this committee, an MVP was shipped, what's it called? Like ability has been displayed, and I don't know. That's sort of in the energy of that thought.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, honestly, to have some sort of process. And like you said, just so we don't get a bunch of crap or people coming back later, like just bring your proposal here. It's open. Like, go ahead. You want to build, go ahead and build, but we'll tell you if it's like a good idea or if it's already built. It's just a small filter, but generally we're going to be on board with people's ideas if it sounds good.
So should we maybe first have a submission period, and at the end, when we know how many projects there are, we could revisit the payment or the amount?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. And we can take a harder look at it within ThriveCoin. I don't think we've thought, or at least I haven't been on any discussion yet for season 2 rewards. So, maybe we can, look at that, see what we want to delineate to Voltron specifically, and then adjust accordingly. But I haven't been on any of those discussions if they were had.
So
would it be okay?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just wondering because if you say we have a submission deadline, I guess I'm looking at from my case, like I don't know if I would be able to hit a deadline for an MVP for the project I'm making. So would it be possible to, like, let's say if I don't make the deadline, like, can I still submit it and have maybe on the next weekend call have the project reviewed?
So there is a hard stop between season rewards. But right now, basically, we're in a pilot period for funding the ThriveCoin rewards. So there's another month. So in August, we have another 15,000 Ghost that's allocated for distribution over that month for rewards. So basically, it would need to be rewarded in the following month if that contribution opportunity continues.
Do we have a date by any chance of when the last or the submission date would have to be for this month, I guess?
I think that's up to this group. The only technical hard stop is, or this group / the board, the only technical hard stop is, as I said, that it needs to be before the end of the month. We need all the reports in.
So basically,
so it looks like for this month, the 29th is a Saturday. If you submit Saturday and we have this meeting on a Sunday and it's approved, you could get rewarded by the 31st.
Okay, so try to shoot before the end of this month. So let's say maybe like the third week of this month would probably be the date to submit in.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we have next month too. We can plan to include anything that's going to bleed into the next month as well. It's a different style. It's like BRS farming, but, we can make it work still.
But you don't get rewards for the proposal, right? So there would be basically two deadlines. One, let's say, hey, you guys have the next 2 weeks to write like a small proposal about what kind of MVP you want to do. And then if you want to get rewards for it in this second season, then you would also need to hand in that MVP in a manner that we can still, in this group, look at it, discuss it, and see if we want to reward that.
Who thinks he's going to be able to deliver his MVP by the end of the month? Yeah.
Optimistically, I'll try, but I don't know. It's like a 30% chance.
Yeah, same
At the
here.
mercy of the supply chain.
Just throw a suggestion out, maybe that there are sort of the way one would apply to like colleges in the US, you've got like an early submission deadline and a later submission deadline. So maybe there are kind of two deadlines, one that's by the end of this month to give people an opportunity to get rewards this month, and then there's one sometime next month with sort of same criteria, but to give another shot for projects that take longer to prepare.
Okay, but what submission deadline or period should we do for the proposals themselves? Or can they be submitted until one day before they submit the MVP?
I mean, I would assume proposals you would want a fair amount before, and that would only have one deadline.
Right. So, who here feels they would not be able to write up a short proposal about their MVP in the next 2 weeks?
I can definitely write something up. That's not an issue.
If anyone needs help or is stuck writing proposals, I can help. As an assist, a prop up even.
Awesome. So I think that's what we're going to do, right? So we're going to make an announcement, say, hey, everyone who wants to participate in the Voltron Hackathon submission for MVPs for this month, for the second season, will have the next 2 weeks to hand in a proposal that outlines the project.
I have a question about the Voltron Hackathon season thing. There is one this month, there is one the next month, and then that's it? Or is there a schedule, long-term schedule on this thing?
So this is a pilot period to test this sort of using the ThriveCoin technology to power rewards. So the pilot, this was the form of the pilot proposal, is just 3 months and doing kind of different reward formats each month. But, you know, if there's appetite from the DAO for ongoing funding or more funding, you know, totally happy on ThriveCoin side. So I think there would need to be a new formal proposal that's approved for additional funding beyond the 3 months.
And it's already the second season, July?
Yes, yeah. So the pilot period is June, July, August. So end of August is when.
Who submitted project in June?
So June was just rewarding people for organizing, starting to get this whole thing up and running.
Okay, I get it. Thank you.
So we got a question here from Transistor, and I was also wondering that. How did you guys come up with the name Voltron? Does it mean something?
Same question from me.
The devs come together and form like Voltron.
That's exactly right. Yeah. The need that was seen is that there are a bunch of these separate projects that are all happening all over the place in different places, and the desire and need was for them to all come together to one even more powerful being, just like the cartoon Voltron that Light Piglet shared a little gif of.
Ah, okay. I wasn't aware of that cartoon. Thank you for letting us know.
From the 80s, like Transformers era. I only know it because of my dad.
Well, I'm old enough to have watched those things.
It's like, now I feel old.
Sorry, that wasn't a diss.
Cool. Anything else on the agenda before wrapping up this meeting?
I don't think so. I mean, we could already discuss what we are going to talk about in the next meeting, or we could just delay that and discuss that in the Voltron chat later.
Maybe we should try to challenge ourselves and see if we can have our proposals or our write-ups ready for next week.
Sure, that's definitely something. We could discuss all the proposals that are in by next week. That will probably take up some time.
Yeah, we can, I guess, plan to have a longer meeting.
Cool. Yeah, I think I heard a proposal for a longer meeting next time, and I also think it would be really beneficial for people to get a sense of like, oh, here are the types of details that would be helpful in a proposal, or that might make it stronger. I just want to do a pitch for in 2 minutes. If folks were doing the raffle drawing for last season for June, there's more than 60 prizes being drawn and 15,000 ghost worth of prizes. So just hop over to General Voice in 1 or 2 minutes and see if you won any prizes.
Awesome. One last thing maybe to mention is that we thought about alternating between 2 different time slots. So the next meeting would be on a different date and at a different time. But given that we only have less than a minute left, I think we should have this discussion some more in the chat.
That's good. I gotta head out. I gotta go over to the meeting. So I'll see you guys there for the raffle. See you there.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, guys.